Okay. Yeah. Right. Get the sawdust off me. So, Ringerike style. The second to last of the Nordic styles. Really, really cool. Very alive, very dynamic, and heavily influenced by Frankish and like Anglo-Saxon, English styles of foliage, plants and acanthus leaves and stuff like that. I delved into the idea of taking an original piece of Viking Age carving or artwork and recreate it in my own handwriting, or rather maintain the original principles but make it more alive and more dynamic and usable for a tattoo. So first off, let's examine the Ringerike style a little bit. It's the only style that's not really named after a location. It's named after an area, and not because there's any specific findings from there. It's because that's where a type of stone came from that some of the Ringerike carvings have been made on. The specific piece that I'm going to be looking at is from the old graveyard of the St. Paul's Cathedral of London, where somewhere in the 19th century stuff was being dug out of the ground and an old tombstone was found with this magnificent wolf on it. And it has a carving on the side mentioning who basically put the stone there. So the Ringerike style is widely distributed. It shows up here and there over Scandinavia and apparently also over here in England. It's very alive, probably because it's the second to last of the Nordic styles. It came right before the Unis style, has basically sprung out of the widely disputed Mammen style. It has more foliage and plant life than some of the other styles, and like more little knobs and lapels and stuff like that. Probably because it's heavily inspired by the Frankish styles. A lot of trade was being done with the rest of Europe and also some of the English styled works. This is all mashed up together. Anyways, the style is still very dominant as a Scandinavian style, which is also why it's on the list of Scandinavian or Viking Age styles. Before we jump to the work itself, the Ringerike style existed between year 1000 and 1070, 75-ish. That's the approximate datings. And besides from the very cool stonework that there is, and the amazing weather vanes, very difficult word to say when you are Danish, or not a native English speaker, I guess. There is in Lund, Sweden, and in Dublin, Ireland, 2 wooden staffs with snakehead dragon worm carvings on them that are absolutely amazing, worth checking out. We'll see if we can put some links in for you. Before we jump into the video itself, I would like to mention The Anatomy of Viking Art, not Viking Age art, The Anatomy of Viking Art by Jonas Lau Markussen, or Markussen, however you want to pronounce it. This is a really, really cool, small, simple, efficient book to learn the different styles from. He's done his homework very thoroughly. His list of literature is really cool and interesting too, if you can dig out the articles from Norwegian universities and stuff like that. He clearly defines the different styles in a very, very clear and graphic format, so it's easy to understand without all the pseudo-stylistic interpretations that people sometimes come up with. This is clean, neat and nice, and personal thanks to this man, to Jonas, for having created this book. I think it's a wonderful tool and it's readily available for everyone and anyone out there. I recommend you buy the book. I'm not being paid to say this, by the way. I recommend you buy the book. If not, if you don't have the tuppence that it costs, go to his website. It's theanatomyofvikingart.com, where most of this can be found. He's also on Instagram. It's really cool stuff. So, back on track. Okay, so this is the first time we're doing it this weird way. I'm going to be watching this video on this fancy iPad, and you will be watching it somewhere around me. So I'll try to explain what went on. So the initial image shows a rendition of the original stone on the left, and then my interpretation of it on the right. As you can see, I've tried to stay very close to the original while making it more alive and dynamic. So here we go. Nothing's happening. There we go. So this is an original illustration of it, not an original illustration. It's an illustration. We will mention the artist who made it in the subtexts. That I found it ages ago, and it inspired me immediately. What I'm basically doing here on my iPad is rendering the lines that I can find and trying to figure out what is what and why is it that way. You can see I made a curve over these tail endings just to make sure that they sort of end on like a nice shape. Re-rendering the face, modifying a little bit here and there. I think it's an important note that I have digital tools available. The people who made this did not. They had very, very different instruments to do their work with. So the fact that they created this carved in rock is fabulous. It's mind-blowingly cool. I dare you to do the same. Anyways, fiddling around with some of the details, trying to find out what is what and why. Once I did that, I took the principal body of it and reshaped it so that it was more of a jumping wolf, jumping lion, jumping animal, that would fit as a back piece or a big thigh piece, maybe wrapped around an arm. I did this to illustrate how you can take an original, stay true to the original, but reinvent it to fit something else. Because I very often see people basically plastering an original piece of artwork, an original piece of Viking Age artwork, onto a limb, and it doesn't really fit. It's not alive, it's not dynamic. And it's important to know that, or notice, that if you look at, for example, the rune stones, the yelling stone, the artist of that piece had a giant stone and created a design that fits that stone. And you have a body, and a design should be made to fit that body. Or if you have a piece of wood, you make a design that fits that piece of wood. Back to the design, I'm not meticulously, but I'm definitely focusedly trying to keep the same principles as from the original. Same kind of curves and everything. Again, it's digitized, so I get to play around more with repeating the shapes and cleaning up and all these things. I have more time and more availability to correct my potential mistakes. For some reason, nothing is happening on the screen. There we go. I was apparently just having a coffee. Who knows? A really nice thing about this design, besides from it being a wolf, or possibly a lion, I think it's a wolf, it also has another creature spawning out of it or around it. Most likely a bird. To me, it looks like a kind of a rooster. It could be so many things. It could be a wolf pup. It could be a chicken. It could be the black rooster crowing for doomsday. Who knows? I just really like that there's a strange extra animal bursting forth, and I decided that that's definitely going to be kept in my rendition of this. When I did the original, I also kind of worked with an oval shape around it. You can see the remaining bits somewhere behind. I don't know where it is going to be on the screen, so fuck it. I tried to keep it within a shape that I had chosen. I didn't want to just fit this to a back or fit this to anything in particular, but I wanted to keep it within some constraints because it's kind of fun to keep working within limitations. I'll get back to this on a different video where I'll talk about doing cover-ups and the limitations that it creates. Oh look, the video is almost done. Basically just cleaning up, brushing things off, fiddling things, going over all these little bits and pieces and details, and voila, it's done. My screen went black, so yours probably did so too. This should fade into the finished piece with a nice gradient, la 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 background that we did. And that's it. That was the video. Fuck me.
Nice.
Okay, so that was almost stressy. to try and keep track with the video, and also explain a little bit about how to do application of designs. So I think we'll do a different video on that later when I have someone to draw on. In the meantime, I just wanted to wrap this up with a message of creativity. Don't try to overdo it. This design is nicely complex and fun to move around and warp and twist. You can pick one that's simpler, and you can do this with any of the styles previous. I'm not saying the previous ones makes it simpler. Some of them make it a lot weirder. Like some bits of the Broa style, for example, are really complex and fiddly and stuff. But challenge yourself. The best way of learning how to do these styles is to copy, sit down with the originals, a light box, or tape it onto tape it onto a window or a video. That's not going to work, but if you do, record it, tag us on Instagram, and we'll laugh. Use a window as a light box, where you can use a blank piece of paper on top of an original and trace it. You'll get the feel of it, and you'll get to play with it, and you'll get to learn from it. Now, just to jump back a little bit to what I mentioned about Jonas's book. It's really cool. He mentions in his book that he's not trying to be fantastically creative. He's trying to create some really clear renditions that explains the styles, which I think is fantastic. It's work that's really needed. Because it's such an efficient and beautiful tool for everyone to use and apply to their own work. But challenge yourself. This is the modern days. It's 1,000 years in the past that these styles were invented and created. It is all right to play around. It's all right to mix. It's all right to generate your own foreign language, and create something that is different. There's just some principles that are really cool to follow. For example, the whole over and under weaving, the specific shapes. If you want to do something that fits a specific style, there is some principles that you should try to memorize when you're drawing in them. But if you're just playing around, don't feel put down by any academic pressure. Just play. Be creative. Make something really cool. Feel free to tag us when you post stuff. Blackhand Nomad, and I don't remember my other Instagram profile, so just tag Blackhand Nomad, so we can see what you're doing, because we'd love to, and if we can and if we may, we will share it and comment on it and do weird creative things with it, all in the name of creativity and playing. So anyways, thanks for watching. This was fun. It was a fun video to do. Cool, thanks.